Somebody said, Techno P says, I have a question during an interview. What is the question? He says, they asked me, how will I configure a new IT information system as an ISO? I told them as an ISO, I don't configure them, but they asked me to just explain the process if I'm faced with the job. Here's what I would say, and I don't know if this is right or wrong, but anytime I've asked questions like this, I always tell them, like, I will rely on my team. Like, this is literally what I would say on this interview. I would say, well, it depends on what I'm configuring. I have done it before, right? Important piece. But normally what I do is I consult with the person who is in charge of that system. Let's say it's a firewall, right? Number one, what kind of firewall is it? The person who's in charge is going to know what kind of firewall that is. Let's say, oh, okay, it's a Cisco ASA. I would sit down with them and I would want to see how they've configured the firewall. I'd sit down and work with them to figure out how we can best implement security on this system. So right here, what I'm telling them is that I am willing to do that work. So if I tell them, well, I don't do that. I'm an ISO. I don't do that. I'm right there telling them what I'm not going to do. You don't want to do that. What you want to do is tell them you want to always emphasize how you can help them. Right? Now, if you don't want to do anything technical, then yeah, you said the right thing. You don't want the job, basically. But if you want the job, you don't want to tell them no. You want to find a way to tell them yes. I hope that makes sense. So, like I said, number one, I'm telling them immediately. So first of all, I do have experience configuring systems. I do. Now, as your ISO, I'm going to work with the people who are in charge there. I'm assuming that you have a team that's already doing the firewalls. By the way, what is it? Is it a firewall? Is it a server? Kind of depends on what I'm doing. Let's say they say server. Well, it's a server 2012. Okay, so it's a server Windows, Microsoft 2016, whatever server it is. So I'm going to sit down with the team and I'm going to learn what it is that we're doing to the standards of the organization. So yeah, I'm going to work with the team, figure out what's going on, and make sure that the system is configured within the security standards and policies within the organization. I'm telling them, yes, I'm going to do it. I'm telling them I'm willing to work with a team. I'm telling them, yes, yes, yes. That has gotten me hired almost every time. Almost every time. Because 9 times out of 10, the place that you're going to is working with a team of people. They want to know that you're willing to work with a team of people, that you're willing to roll with the punches, because some, especially smaller organizations are awesome, by the way. They're awesome, especially if they're on the rise. You can get stock options early in the company. You can be a part of building their actual organization to this next level. They're usually way more flexible with you. So anyway, you're in a smaller organization, and a lot of times they need you to wear multiple hats. Like, it sounds like what they were really asking is, are you willing to do it, right? Not necessarily, especially if they didn't tell you. If they said, okay, it's a firewall, you're on a firewall, ASA, Cisco, and you need to configure it to block the innies on the firewall. Now they're asking you, okay, are you a firewall administrator? That's kind of different. They're asking you to step through what you're going to do. You know what I mean? If you don't have the skill set, you don't want to lie to them and try to fake it. You want to be like, nah, I'm not really a firewall administrator, but I'm willing to learn. You know, once again, you're telling them yes. Like, I have not done it before with an ASA, but I'm willing to learn. I have worked with a Juniper firewall, whatever. I don't know if Juniper even has a firewall. I have worked with a Palo Alto firewall, but I've never worked with an ASA one. So I'd be willing to learn it. You know, I'm not sure immediately how to configure it, but I'm willing to work with your team and learn it. That would be how I would answer it, and it's worked every time. As a matter of fact, current job that I had asked me something to that effect. They asked me a question I didn't know. They asked me, well, I think it was PCI compliance. I'd never done it before. I'm not a PCI guy. PCI is a risk management framework for credit card systems that take your credit card information. They have to have a certain level of security to protect our privacy whenever you run your credit card through. And I didn't know it. And I flat out said, well, here's what I said. He said, so have you ever done PCI? Because we have a couple clients that have PCI and we need somebody who has that skill set. What do you bring to the table for that? If you were asked to work with PCI, you know, what can you bring? And I said, well, I've not done PCI DSS before. I am familiar with it. I've heard of it. I know it's in line with what I've done before, risk management framework. But to be honest with you, I've never PCI on a system before, but I'd be willing to learn it. It's something I'm actually very excited to learn about. And actually, I have looked at it before, and it looks very similar to what I've already done many times with risk management framework. So I'd be very interested in learning that with the team. Boom.